Conspiracy theories keep popping up, claiming that major world powers want to destabilize Europe. But is this really true? Is it just a myth, or are there actually reasons why other countries might have an interest in weakening Europe? In this video, we take a look at the background, trade wars, refugee movements, political and media influence, and why some countries would actually benefit from Europe being less powerful. Point 1. Economic competition and trade wars. Europe is one of the world's largest economic powers, so it's no wonder that trade conflicts between Europe and other major powers, such as the US or China, flare up time and again. Tariffs, subsidies and sanctions are very real means of putting pressure on the European market. The conspiracy narrative says others want to deliberately ruin Europe. The reality is that it's about fierce competition for markets, technologies and resources. But one thing is clear. A weakened Europe is easier for other economic powers to deal with. Point 2. Refugee movements as a means of pressure. Another hotly debated topic is refugee movements. Some claim that migration is being deliberately controlled in order to destabilize Europe. The reality is that the causes of flight are mostly war, poverty or climate change. However, it is true that some states deliberately use migration as a means of political pressure. Just think of Turkey or Belarus, which have deliberately used migration in certain situations to put pressure on the EU. Point 3. Political influence. Politics is always a game of influence. Russia, China and the US all try to influence European decisions through lobbying, intelligence services or diplomatic strategies. Of course, this doesn't only happen against Europe, the EU also exerts influence in other regions of the world. But it shows that geopolitical power games are real, even if they don't follow some grand secret master plan of a global conspiracy. Point 4. Media influence and disinformation. A particularly strong field is media influence. This is where it often gets really dangerous. There is evidence of targeted disinformation campaigns, for example by Russian troll farms, that attempt to influence elections or divide societies. Why? Because a divided Europe is less capable of acting. Point 5. Energy and raw material dependency. Energy policy is one of Europe's greatest weaknesses. For decades it has made itself heavily dependent on Russian gas. This has given Moscow enormous leverage. This is where conspiracy and reality blur. Some speak of deliberate blackmail, while others see it simply as economic dependence that has been exploited politically. The fact is that whoever controls energy has power over Europe. Point 6. Why other powers want to weaken Europe. Why would anyone want to destabilize Europe in the first place? Quite simply, a strong, united Europe is a powerful competitor, economically, politically and culturally. A weak Europe, on the other hand, is easier to divide, less unified, and therefore less threatening to other superpowers such as the US, China or Russia. So, it's not about a dark global conspiracy. It's about interests and the balance of power. Point 7. Conspiracy theory versus reality. And this is precisely where the difference lies. Conspiracy theories paint a picture of an invisible hand controlling everything. The reality is much more complex. Yes, there are trade conflicts, influence peddling, disinformation and dependencies. But that doesn't mean that an all-powerful elite is pulling all the strings behind the scenes. Instead, we are dealing with a web of interests, power games and political strategies. And that is precisely what makes world politics so exciting and so complicated. Europe is one of the most important players on the world stage. That is precisely why other powers are trying to exert influence. The danger does not lie in a grand global conspiracy, but in our belief in simple answers to complex problems. Therefore, remain critical, get your information from a variety of sources, and don't be fooled by simplistic narratives. If you liked the video, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel and write in the comments which conspiracy theories should I examine next. Thank you for watching.